Well, Panther Nation, the wait is over. We've found our guy. We have found our new general manager.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
I'm Josh Scott, and I have Carolina on my mind.
Delhomme fires to an open Smith. Steve Smith is going to go all the way. No flags down. Smith scores, and the Carolina Panthers win in overtime.
On a 3rd and 14.
Newton running. Newton gets to the corner. Cam down the sideline. Cam Newton. Hesitation. Still on his feet. Cam Newton. Touchdown, Carolina. What a play.
3, and here they come. It's Kuechly who gets to Manning back at the 9.
Newton to the end zone. What a catch by Greg Olsen. Spectacular.
And she loses the football. Scooped up by Burns. Ryan Burns to the house.
McCaffrey picks up the first down. Has some room. Makes a man miss. Christian McCaffrey in the open field. Inside the 30. Inside the 20. McCaffrey touchdown.
Once again, I'm Josh Scott, and welcome to another episode of the Carolina On My Mind podcast, where we talk anything and everything Carolina Panthers. After conducting interviews with 15 candidates, 4 of whom were interviewed twice, on January 14th, the Panthers chose Scott Fitterer, former Vice President of Player Personnel of the Seattle Seahawks, to be their next GM. The 47-year-old is coming to Charlotte after being with the Seahawks since 2001. He started working for their college scouting department, which led him to eventually become the director of that department in 2011. Fitterer went on to become the 2014 Super Bowl champions co-director of player personnel in 2015, a position that he would hold for 4 years. He's worked very closely with Seattle's current GM, John Schneider, over the years as well. Fitterer was one of the last candidates that the Panthers considered for the general manager position initially, and one of the 4 who ended up being interviewed twice. The other 3 were Monty Ossenfort, current director of player personnel for the Tennessee Titans, Ryan Poles, the current assistant director of player personnel for the defending Super Bowl champions Kansas City Chiefs, and Adam Peters, who is the current vice president of player personnel for the San Francisco 49ers. And when I say player personnel, I'm talking about making contracts with free agents and current players on your team, as well as scouting college teams for the draft, and professional teams around the NFL. This was a big hire for the Panthers, to say the least, and it's time to find out what your thoughts are on Scott Fitterer's hire on our first segment of the show, Question of the Day. And today's question of the day, simply put, is, what do you think of the Scott Fitterer hire? Is this a decision that you approve of and that you think Scott was the clear and obvious choice? Or did this news cause you to throw a temper tantrum, the same way Jalen Ramsey did against the Packers on Saturday? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. For our next segment of the show, I wanted to get a perspective on how Seahawks fans feel about Scott Fitterer leaving for Charlotte. And for this topic, I knew just who to call. Up next is my interview with Alex Wober, host of Run Out the Clock, who had a lot to say about the Panthers' new hire. Welcome back to the Carolina On My Mind podcast. We talk anything and everything Carolina Panthers. I'm Josh Scott. Joining me now is Alex Wober, host of the Run Out the Clock podcast. Alex, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Josh. I appreciate you having me on today.
Yeah, well, you're not only a diehard football fan, you're a diehard Seahawks fan. So I wanted to get your perspective on the new hire for the Panthers. Initial reaction from the 12th man fan base when Scott Fitterer was picked up by the Panthers. I know this wasn't like, you guys losing head coach Pete Carroll or general manager John Schneider, but for a guy who's been with this organization since 2001, I can imagine it was a pretty big deal seeing him leave.
Oh, yeah, it was definitely a surprise to see that happen. I wasn't expecting it because I saw the Panthers, they had about 4 candidates at the couple of last days heading up to the hiring. And I saw his name was last on the list, so I did not expect him to leave the organization. But I was really sad to see him go. Fantastic mind to have for the Seahawks organization. Drafted most of the Super Bowl 48 and 49 team. he was a huge piece to who we brought onto this team. And I know he can do a great job as GM, hopefully. And I think all will be good in Seattle because we do have his right-hand man, Trent Kirshner, now as our VP of player personnel.
Gotcha. You mentioned he did draft a bunch of great players, not only that took you all to the Super Bowl, but also current players that are on your roster right now, such as DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. I mean, those are some big names that have made a big impact for this Seahawks team. And so, on the lines of this new hire, would you say that the Panthers made a good choice in picking Fitterer, considering the fact that he was one of the last people that were considered to be considered to take this new job?
I think it was a phenomenal pick for general manager. That's a little bit of bias on my part, but he does a great job of pretty much everything that surrounds the position of vice president of player personnel. After the draft you guys had in 2020, I think drafting all those defensive players was really smart for the Panthers, since the defense was looking a little depleted after Kuechly and a couple other departures. And I just think he's a great scout when it comes to drafting a lot of gems, hidden gems in later rounds.
Yeah, he is. That was one of the first things that jumped out to me, was the fact that he's definitely got an eye for talent, and that's what our previous general manager Marty Herney had. But of course, he had a different vision when it came to that kind of deal. But is Scott Fitterer someone who can make an impact right away, or will Panther fans have to continue to be patient when it comes to developing an elite team for an elite franchise?
So I like that question. I think he has an opportunity to make an impact right away, just because we haven't seen him as a general manager, but we've been dealing with him for quite some time, so I know what it is like to be patient. He's someone that can bring in players that will work their tail off right away. He likes to go after guys who are hard workers, grinders, and straight up dogs when it comes to getting their name called in game. So I will say, don't expect an immediate impact, but the future is very bright with him at the helm.
Got you, for sure. And along those lines, we mentioned that he has an eye for talent. He obviously has drafted some great players over the years. What can Panther fans expect when it comes to how Fitterer approaches the draft and college scouting for this franchise?
Well, when it comes to college scouting and drafting, he will pick the right guys for the franchise. Outside of the first round, we've seen a couple of ups and downs in the first round for Seattle. We're known as not picking the right players, I'll say that, in the first round. So I have seen this man draft some great players in the first round that we could get at round 2 and 3, just because the front office loves that player so much. But beyond the first round, he knows how to draft players. Look at who the Seahawks have drafted outside the first round in the last 7 to 9 years. KJ Wright, 4th round pick in 2011, Richard Sherman, round 5, Malcolm Smith, round 7, Super Bowl MVP, Bobby Wagner, Russell Wilson, Paul Richardson, and you can't forget about DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. So he knows who to grab in the later rounds without a doubt.
Shaquille Griffin, Trey Flowers, Frank Clark, 3 other players that have been drafted during Fitterer's time at Seattle, who have made a great impact as well. Last question for you, Mr. Wober. What can Panther fans expect when it comes to how Fitterer will handle free agency and cap space? That was one of the weaknesses for our previous general manager, and we've got some big player signings that we will need to tackle well in the offseason. How do you see Fitterer approaching free agency and cap space for this Panthers franchise?
Free agency is a little tough because we've had ups and downs. I still think Jamal Adams, he'll be solid after his surgery he gets, but I'll be honest, he has never signed a good cornerback in free agency, though, or helped sign a good cornerback in free agency, which I know is a big gap in position for the Panthers right now. So when it comes to free agents, he loves guys who were drafted in the first round who really never got their chance. For example, Deion Jordan, Luke Jokel, Cedric Abui, DJ Fluker. I could go on and on. But the last thing I'll say about his help in free agent signings is he doesn't make a lot of moves unless given the opportunity money-wise. We haven't made it really splash moves, if you can say that, besides Jamal Adams that I can think about. we haven't had that much opportunities to sign up really big players.
Got you again. Well, I appreciate your insight. Thank you for coming on the show. Please go up for the fans out there and for the viewers watching. Make sure to go check out Alex's channel, Run Out the Clock. He puts some great content on that channel. And Alex, thank you again for giving us your perspective of the Scott Fitterer hire for the Panthers.
Absolutely, Josh. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks again to Alex Wober for joining the show, and congrats to you for making it to the end of the video. If you like what you saw, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share for more Carolina on My Mind content. Have a great day, and keep pounding.